Okay, we're still doing the secret history, but we have moved on to chapter 7, and today we're going to focus on prepositions. Now, we're going to look at the preposition for, in, on, at, to, with, from, and with. Okay, they're the prepositions we're doing today, and in future, perhaps we will do some other prepositions. But I found the examples today in the first 4 or 5 pages of chapter 7. So I hope you can see that 95% of these examples are in those first 4 or 5 pages. So it might be a good idea to reread the start of chapter 7 after this class so that you can see these prepositions being used in the whole sentence. Yeah, it's sometimes good to look at the whole sentence. In fact, it's always good to look at the whole sentence. But I wanted to focus on why we use for. Yeah, in what kind of situations we use for, in what kind of situations we use in. Prepositions are so difficult in English. Firstly, because we've got phrasal verbs, and perhaps a couple of phrasal verbs will crop up today, but phrasal verbs are very hard and they're usually verb plus preposition. But secondly, we have dependent prepositions. The adjective jealous is always used with of. Somebody is jealous of somebody else. And other adjectives will have other prepositions. Yeah, so there are other ones. You're always keen on. Yeah, you are always able to. And I think you should learn those adjectives with the dependent prepositions, and you should learn some verbs with their dependent prepositions, because verbs, you always accuse somebody of doing something. Yeah, and so you need to know accuse somebody of. And so please learn it like that. But let's have a look at the prepositions in chapter 7. And perhaps let's start with the preposition for. And I want to make one thing clear right from the start, and this is another complication. Grammar is always like this, where there's one complication, then another complication. There are always many nuances in grammar, and it's the same in any language, not just English. So for isn't always a preposition. Sometimes for is a conjunction. It's one of the fanboys conjunctions, and so it's a very common conjunction, especially in literature, not so much in everyday English. But when you use for plus a clause, I put on my jumper for it was hot, that's for being used as a conjunction. And some of you might even be able to hear that for it was hot sounds quite literary. It sounds extremely formal. It's not what you hear in everyday English, but it is what you read in any English literature book. Yeah, in any book written in English literature, you will sometimes see for plus a clause. So here's an example in chapter 7 of for being used as a conjunction, and that's not what we're studying today, but I just wanted to put that to one side. If you say, I can't remember what the first clause was, perhaps it was everybody was upset about Bunny's death, for it's a hard thing when somebody dies at a school like Hampton. And that for is joining the first main clause with the second main clause, and very often you have a comma before the fanboys conjunction when it's joining 2 main clauses. Okay, so this for is not a preposition. It's a conjunction. It's joining together main clauses. That's not what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus on for plus noun. Yeah, and I mean just a noun, like I have lived here for 3 days. 3 days is a noun phrase. It's a thing, 3 days. It's 3 things. It's 3 days. So for 3 days, that's a preposition. That's for being used as a preposition. Here's an example from chapter 7. I could go on. Please note the phrasal verb go on, which means carry on, which means continue. I could carry on, I could continue, I could go on for pages about blah, 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 blah. Yeah,